Happy to have you here. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm delighted to be here. If you're sitting in the back, can you hear me okay? Just give me a wave. Okay, great. My father of blessed memory would often say that he never let facts get in the way of a good story. And I think about him every year as we come around to Parashat Devarim. It's easy to miss if you're not really paying attention at the very beginning of the Torah reading. But actually the entire book of Devarim, with the exception of the first 5 verses and the last 10 verses, is Moses telling the Israelites the story of the Jewish people and the Exodus. And in some translations, if you really look carefully, every paragraph in the English translation, except for the first 5 and the last 10 verses, is placed in quotation marks, the whole book. The one thing that's strange about this, there are many things that are strange about it. One of the things that's strange about this is he's telling this story to people who were there for at least some of the events that he's recounting. Right? So within the narrative of the story, it's already strange that Moses would devote so much time to telling the Jewish people the story of things they had themselves experienced. It's also strange from a literary point of view. We have this book, the Torah, that concludes with a retelling of the rest of the book, and we have the ability to flip back however many pages or scroll back in the days where the scrolls were all we had, and see that the way that Moses tells the story is not the way that the narrator tells the story in the earlier parts of the book. And so one of the great questions for really anyone who reads the book of Devarim throughout the history of the book is, what do we make of this? What do we do with a book that retells the story that we have just read and tells it differently? One message that I think we can take away from this is to recognize that there are the facts of what happened in the story, but that the facts don't determine the meaning. And that what it means in our lives is something that emerges when we retell the story. And maybe if we had a 4-book Torah instead of a 5-book Torah, we might get hung up on, what does the Torah say happened in this event? What does the Torah say happened in that event? And that 5th book gives us the example of Moshe looking back and telling the Israelites not what happened, because for sure someone was there going, that's not what I remember, but saying to them, consider now, look back, consider what these journeys have meant. Consider what the encounters have meant, the things that we suffered, the things that lifted us up, the experiences that we had, the places that we have been. How are we changed as a result of all of that? What do we see differently in the world than we might have seen if we had not had those experiences, not met those people, not been to those places? And so the Devarim within the Torah is an example for us to retell the stories of our own lives. Our youngest daughter is 5 and is constantly asking me to tell her again stories that I've already told her about the family, and in particular, she's fascinated by stories of things that happened to her older siblings before she was born. And sometimes she'll ask me to tell her the story that I just told her. Right? Literally, I told her the story, and she says, tell me that story again. And I start to notice in myself that I can't tell the story exactly the same way, even twice in a row in the same conversation. So all of this, family stories, the stories of our people, I see rooted in this beginning of Parashat Devarim. Like, these are the things that Moshe said. This is the way he retold the story and the way he began the process of finding meaning in telling our story. Good morning. It's nice to be here.